Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Meteorite Dagger. Imagine holding a dagger that's older than most civilizations. Now imagine finding out it's made from metal that isn't from Earth. This ancient weapon was forged from a meteorite that crashed into our planet thousands of years ago. The ancient smiths who made this dagger somehow figured out how to work with metal that modern blacksmiths struggle with. We're talking about a complex iron-nickel alloy that requires incredibly precise temperature control. They weren't just making crude tools. This dagger is a masterpiece. The blade still holds a sharp edge after 3,000 years. For comparison, leave a modern steel knife outside for a year, and it'll be nothing but rust. Scientists are finding more and more ancient weapons made from meteorites. It's like our ancestors had their own space-age metal industry going on, and we're just now realizing that maybe they weren't as primitive as we thought. Think about it. These people looked up at the sky, saw a shooting star, tracked down where it landed, and figured out how to turn space rocks into weapons. That's not primitive. That's genius. Number 9. Viking dental modifications. Everyone thinks Vikings were just dirty warriors with bad teeth, but turns out they were actually ancient dental fashionistas. Archaeologists have found something wild in Viking skulls. Their front teeth had deep grooves carved into them. And we're not talking about cavities or battle damage here. These grooves were perfectly horizontal, carefully filed right into the enamel. Scientists think these weren't just random scratches. The Vikings were actually filling these grooves with colored pigments, bright reds and blues. Imagine being a Saxon farmer, minding your own business, when suddenly a boat full of Vikings shows up. They jump out screaming, and when they smile, their teeth are glowing with colorful stripes. That's some next-level psychological warfare right there. This was incredibly painful to get done. They were literally filing into their living teeth without any anesthesia. And these weren't just a few random Vikings with weird taste. Archaeologists have found hundreds of skulls with these modifications. It was like the Viking version of getting a face tattoo, except way more metal. Number 8. Your brain's night cleaning system. Scientists recently discovered something wild about what happens in your brain while you sleep. Your brain basically turns on its power washer mode every night. When you're sleeping, the spaces between your brain cells expand by up to 60%. This creates tiny channels that act like a drainage system. Then your brain gets flooded with special fluid that rushes in and literally power washes all the toxic junk that built up during the day. And this cleaning system only works when you're asleep. When you're awake, your brain cells are too tightly packed together for this to happen. So when people say, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," they're actually letting their brain marinate in its own toxic waste. These toxins include beta amyloid, the same protein that builds up in Alzheimer's disease. So next time someone brags about only needing 4 hours of sleep, their brain is probably looking like a dumpster fire on the inside. This explains why we feel so foggy after pulling an all-nighter. Your brain is literally swimming in yesterday's garbage. Number 7. Coal doesn't turn into diamonds. You know that inspirational story about coal turning into diamonds? The one about how pressure makes a worthless rock into something precious. Well, I've got some bad news. It's a complete lie. Think of coal and diamonds like two kids who grew up in completely different neighborhoods. Diamonds come from deep in Earth's fancy uptown district, about 100 miles down. Meanwhile, coal is from the swampy suburbs, just a few miles under the surface. Here's the really awkward part. Diamonds are actually way older than coal. Most diamonds formed about 1 to 3 billion years ago. That's before plants even existed on Earth. And you need plants to make coal. So diamonds were already hanging out in their crystal clubs, while coal's ingredients weren't even born yet. The timeline just doesn't add up. And get this, they're not even made from the same stuff. Sure, they're both carbon, but that's like saying humans and bananas are the same, because we both contain potassium. Diamonds form from pure carbon. Coal is this messy mix of carbon and other elements, like the junk drawer of the mineral world. Number 6. The Solar-Powered Sea Slug. So there's this sea slug that basically said, "I'm tired of grocery shopping," and decided to become part plant. This little guy, called the Eastern Emerald Elysia, eats algae like most sea slugs. But here's where it gets wild. Instead of just digesting the algae, it steals its genes. It's like if you ate a salad and suddenly could photosynthesize. These slugs actually keep the algae's chloroplasts, the tiny organs that turn sunlight into food. And they somehow got the genetic code to maintain these chloroplasts and keep them working. Scientists thought this was impossible. Animals aren't supposed to be able to do this. It's like finding out your neighbor's cat learned how to use the microwave. These slugs can survive for months without eating anything, just soaking up sun like they're at the beach. They're literally solar-powered animals. This completely changes what we thought we knew about how genes work. It's the only animal we know of that can steal another species' genes and actually use them. These slugs have been doing this right under our noses this whole time, casually breaking the laws of biology. Number 5. Mammoths were alive during the pyramids. While the Egyptians were building the pyramids, woolly mammoths were still hanging out on a tiny Russian island. These giant furry elephants were still alive around 4,000 years ago on Wrangel Island. That's after humans had invented writing, built cities, and started making beer. It's like these mammoths were reading their own obituaries while still walking around. We've found mammoth bones with human-made spear marks dated to times when mammoths were supposedly extinct. We might have missed thousands of other mammoth sites because they're now underwater. When the last ice age ended, sea levels rose and covered huge areas where humans and mammoths lived. There could be entire mammoth populations sitting at the bottom of the ocean right now. Number 4. The Stradivarius Scam. Imagine spending $20 million on a violin. That's what people pay for a Stradivarius, thinking they're getting the best sound in the world. But turns out we've all been fooled for centuries. Scientists did something pretty sneaky back in 2012. They gathered some of the world's best violinists in a hotel room. They gave them 6 violins to play. 3 were Stradivarius worth millions each, and 3 were modern violins worth a few thousand. They made the violinists wear modified welding goggles so the players couldn't see what they were playing. They even put perfume on the chin rests so the players couldn't smell which violin was which. These were people who'd spent their whole lives playing million-dollar violins. Want to know what happened? It's like finding out your expensive wine is actually box wine with a fancy label. Most of the violinists preferred the modern violins. In fact, the violin they rated the worst was a Stradivarius worth millions. They did another test in 2014, this time in a concert hall. Same result. The modern violins won again. People still pay millions for these things because it's basically the world's most expensive placebo effect. People hear a Stradivarius and think, this cost millions, it must sound amazing. Turns out the secret was that there was no secret. Just really good marketing that's lasted 300 years. Number 3. T-Rex arms weren't useless. Everyone makes fun of T-Rex's tiny arms. Turns out we're the joke. Those arms could bench press about 400 pounds each. That's like having 2 NFL linebackers for arms, except these ones are attached to a murder machine. Scientists recently found that T-Rex arms were built like hydraulic presses with claws. Each arm was packed with enough muscle to lift 3 adult humans at once, and those claws were sharp enough to slash through flesh like a hot knife through butter. T-Rex didn't need long arms. When your head is the size of a bathtub and can crush a car with one bite, you don't need to reach for things. Those arms weren't for grabbing stuff off high shelves. They were for close-range slashing when prey got too close, like having 2 machetes strapped to your chest as backup weapons. Just in case the giant death mouth wasn't enough, those arms could rip your face off faster than you could finish making fun of them. Number 2. The wolves that changed rivers. Back in 1995, scientists decided to bring wolves back to Yellowstone Park. Most people thought they knew what would happen. Wolves would eat some deer numbers would drop, end of story. But nature had other plans. Before the wolves showed up, deer were basically teenagers at an unsupervised house party. They hung out wherever they wanted, eating whatever they wanted. Their favorite snack was young trees and bushes along the riverbanks. When the wolves came back, everything changed. Suddenly these deer couldn't just stand around munching on trees all day. They had to keep moving, watching their backs. Those trees and bushes the deer used to eat started growing back, and they changed the actual shape of the rivers. The new plants stabilized the riverbanks, preventing erosion. The stronger banks meant the rivers couldn't wander anymore. Birds came back because they had trees to nest in. Beavers returned because they had wood to build with. The beavers built dams, creating pools where fish could thrive. By scaring some deer, wolves transformed the entire landscape. All you need to reshape a river is a few wolves and some very nervous deer. Number 1. The real smell of rain. That amazing smell right after it rains. Turns out you're not smelling rain at all. You're actually smelling billions of bacteria screaming. That fresh, earthy smell has a fancy name. Scientists call it petrichor. When raindrops hit the ground, they're basically creating tiny bacterial apocalypses. See, there's this chemical called geosmin that soil bacteria produce. When rain hits the dirt, it creates these microscopic air bubbles that shoot up like tiny bombs. These bubbles capture the geosmin and burst into the air, spreading what is essentially the last breath of countless bacteria. So next time you're enjoying that fresh rain smell, you're actually inhaling the final moments of billions of tiny organisms. It's like a microscopic version of that scene from Pompeii, only it happens every time it rains. The craziest part is humans are ridiculously good at smelling geosmin. We can detect it at concentrations as low as 5 parts per trillion. That's like finding 1 drop in 50 Olympic swimming pools. We're basically equipped with bacterial death detectors. So yeah, that romantic walk in the rain is actually a stroll through clouds of bacterial screams. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.